To tell us more about the differences between the two, the technology stack enabling Agentic AI, we have an expert here with us. May I request all of you to please put your hands together as I welcome Mr. Prabhakar Srinivasan, Director of Technology, Innovation and Co-Lead of the AI practice at Synechron. A round of applause for him, please. For the next 15 minutes, we have a very special session with him.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here in the inaugural edition of AI Summit. And in the next 15 minutes, I'll give you an overview of what's happening in the cutting edge of generative AI. Okay? So this is my agenda for today. I'm going to talk about Gen AI as we knew it in 2023, and what's changed in 2024, and how it's different from the new buzz thing, which is Agentic AI. I'll talk about some of the design patterns, which are some things you'll need to know if you're practically implementing anything in Agentic AI, and something interesting called collaborative intelligence. It's a new paradigm that's evolving. And then we'll talk about some tech stacks and some knowledge base and courses. Okay? All right. As a thought experiment, I actually got this image from a blog, and I uploaded it to ChatGPT, and I used GPT-4 Omni when it was released, I think, around June. And I said, describe this image. What is the message one should infer from this image? And at that point, GPT-4 Omni was the top of the leaderboard. It was a great multimodal large language model. It could do this. It could analyze images and interpret images. And it gave this output. And it said, the AI Copilot is designed to work alongside humans, augmenting their capabilities. And the AI agent is supposed to be more autonomous. And it has a broader range of capabilities and can work independently and manage workflows. Right? And it was amazing. That's exactly what I was expecting. And it did a great job. It's going to be interesting. In the next couple of slides, you're going to see how Agentic AI is going to do better than even GPT-4o. And we'll come back to this. Okay? All right. So what sparked the whole interest in Agentic AI was basically two talks that Andrew Ng gave in the early part of this year. One was organized by Sequoia Capital, and the other one was organized by Snowflake. And he emphasized the importance of this new paradigm called Agentic AI and how it's here to stay and how it's going to be the trend going forward. In very simple terms, if you think of asking someone to write an essay, and they start writing, and then you tell them you can't hit the backspace, you can't go back and change anything that you've written, LLMs kind of operated in that manner. In 2023, all the LLMs would give you output, and that's because they grade at the next token prediction, right? Next best token. And Agentic AI workflows allow you to do that, that ability to pause, iterate, review, and revise and iterate over the output of the same LLM or some other LLM's output that vastly improves the quality of the output. It could be code, it could be some creative article that you've written. Whatever the output, the quality vastly improves. Okay? So he talks about this example, and I thought it'd be really succinct to share with all of you. For some time, there were some skeptics thinking this is just another fad and it would fade away. But actually, there are some numerical examples which actually tell you the GPT 3.5 zero shot, and you just prompt and you don't provide any examples and you expect some output from the model, was only at 48% accuracy on a human eval data set. Right? This is one of the benchmark data sets which are used for evaluating LLMs. And GPT-4 Turbo, around 6 months ago, was around 67% accuracy. And then on the right-hand side, that's a measure of all the models which are performing really well. Everything was a combination of some form of Agentic AI. Okay? There are different design patterns. You have reflection, tool use, planning, and multi-agent. The simplest design pattern for Agentic AI happens to be like tool use, and even that was scoring higher than GPT-4 Turbo, which for a long time was at the top of the leaderboard. So this experiment proved to the world that Agentic AI is here to stay, and this is something we should not ignore. Okay? And he talks about this in his luminary session. So these are the 4 design patterns: reflection, tool use, planning, and multi-agent collaboration. the ability to use chain of thought reasoning, the ability to take the output of an LLM or take an LLM's output itself and then process, reflect on it, and then break it down into thought, observation, action, and then iterate and improve the output, creates amazing output. The output, if it's a creative article, it's of better quality. If it is code, it's of better quality. Tool use is where you can actually wrap Python methods and then have a docstring and then have an agent executor which is able to delegate all your natural human prompts into the correct method that can execute it. Those methods which are able to execute that code are tools. So the agent is able to pick the right tool and match it based on the LLM's intelligence to match the prompt with the tools. That is a tool use design pattern. Most sophisticated enterprise workflows can be solved using planning and multi-agent collaboration, where you don't even need to provide an execution plan, and an agent executor class would actually come up with a list of steps to execute and then delegate it to other agents kind of in a hierarchical manner, and also allow them to coordinate amongst themselves and come up with the results. So these are very sophisticated systems. You can think of very sophisticated virtual assistants that you can build using these kind of planning and multi-agent collaboration systems. Okay? So these are the 4 popular design patterns which have come to the surface now. I'm sure in the course of this year, there'll be many more design patterns which will come up. Okay. Something happened in June this year. A paper came out, and they talked about the mixture of agents. I'm sure all of you have heard of mixture of experts, which was very popular January, February of this year. Mixtral and Fixtral and all these models were a mixture of experts, but these are actually a mixture of agents. Okay? So the researchers actually looked at combining in a pipeline models like Qwen, Wizard, Mixtral, Llama, DBRX, and they found that there was a unique combination where you can separate these models into either aggregators or proposer LLMs, and if you chain them together and allow them to work in a pipeline, the output is vastly improved. The quality is vastly improved. So to give you an idea of what was this vast improvement that these frameworks, mixture of agent frameworks produced, you have 3 benchmark data sets, Alpaca Eval, MT Bench, and Flask. And on Alpaca Eval, there was a 7.6% absolute improvement over GPT-4o. Such a big leap margin in terms of improvement is unheard of in the AI community because the race is very tight. At the top of the leaderboard, the race is very tight. So that really was an eye-opener for everybody. Then MT Bench is a very standard data set. Pretty much it's saturated in terms of how models can even make a small dent in that regard. And at the top of the leaderboard, you got MOA, mixture of experts. And you've got Flask, another data set which actually focuses on correctness, factuality, insightfulness, completeness, metacognition, and reasoning-related high-level cognitive capabilities. And in this also, MOA was able to outperform, and you have the metrics over there. So this paper actually came out in June, and now the whole AI community is realizing that agentic AI is something that's going to be here, and going forward, we're going to see complex enterprise-scale workflows being handled by these kind of systems, and we're starting to see many frameworks being released. I wanted to briefly touch upon this one. Hallucination for a long time has been a big pain point when you work with LLMs, right? You need guardrails, and you need to safeguard, making sure the LLM doesn't give you, very factual sounding results, but it's actually off. It's not grounded in factual reasoning. So if you look at that spider graph or that radial graph, and you compare GPT-4 Omni and Qwen, you notice Qwen is much smaller than GPT-4o in terms of the number of parameters. It actually outperforms GPT-4o in terms of correctness, factuality, insightfulness, completeness, and metacognition. So these models are going to be much more robust against hallucination, right? And if you look at the cost versus the LC win rate, MOA Lite, there's a variant of MOA called MOA Lite, which is actually more cost-effective in terms of token usage, et cetera. It's more cost-effective, and it's doing better in terms of the skill level. So the model is more robust against hallucination, it's more cost-effective, and it's able to defeat GPT-4 Omni in terms of skill level. So this is just the MOA Lite. So MOA, the bigger version of it is much more skilled, okay? So lots of frameworks have come out for developers. There's Crew AI, there is AutoGen, which is from Microsoft, and LangGraph. And on the right-hand side, I've listed many frameworks which have been released by open source, by the open source community. This space is really, really happening right now. Okay. Right. So there are some courses on deeplearning.ai. Andrew Ning and his team have created a few courses. This was from June, so I'm sure there are more courses which have been added to this list. You have Agentic AI design patterns with AutoGen, AI agents and LangGraph, and multi-AI agent systems with Crew AI. Okay? I have some links that I refer to for this article, for this particular presentation. So Synechron is really committed in investing in these frontier technologies like Agentic AI. We're now building newsletters with Agentic AI. We've got an entire data orchestration application where we are using Agentic AI for data, and we're able to handle data engineering, big data and Spark orchestration. We're able to do business intelligence and visualization and predictive analytics all conversationally, and powered by frameworks like LangGraph and Crew AI under the hood. Okay? It is noteworthy to mention that there is an Achilles heel to Agentic AI systems. The whole process of reasoning, chain of thought, the ability to pause and review and revise, etc., many times, right? That's going to take time. So these systems tend to be slow. So inference acceleration using frameworks like Grok, and also the need for small language models so that you don't incur a huge cost because of the token usage. These are all coming together nicely. So you got Grok, you got innovation in the small language models, and you got these frameworks like Crew AI and LangGraph. They're all coming together. The timing seems to be really great for app development using Agentic AI. Okay? So we've got on 3 value streams. We've got developer productivity, we've got business growth, operational efficiency, and we've released a suite of AI capabilities called Nexus. This is Synechron Nexus Suite. We have a stall, so I encourage all of you, if you haven't already visited the stall, to stop by. I have my team members, Abbas and Rajesh, there, so you can stop by, and we'd be happy to share more information about these. Okay? All right, that concludes my talk. Right? Traditional LLMs, I say traditional, although Gen AI took off in 2022, 2023, right? So already we're seeing Agentic AI surpassing many of the capabilities of traditional LLMs. This is going to be kind of a very popular trend, and it's here to stay. Having said that, when I was talking to some of the leaders in Microsoft who came up with AutoGen, they said RPA on steroids is Agentic AI. So enterprise workflows, all the RPA applications, legacy app modernization from 3 years, 4 years ago, you're going to see Agentic AI coming to the rescue and solving those kind of problems where RPA couldn't really scale, right? And even those RPA systems from 4 years, 5 years ago, they are ripe for app modernization to Agentic AI frameworks. So case by case, you're going to see that many families of applications are going to migrate towards Agentic AI. If we were all wowed by what we could do with Rasa and the like for chatbots 4 years, 5 years ago, and we're amazed by what ChatGPT can do, transforming all of that, where in a couple of weeks you're able to build a chatbot with all the NLU, NLG capabilities, advanced capabilities. What Agentic AI can do to chatbots is they can actually elevate it to the level where they can become virtual assistants and they can handle complex workflows, things like that. So you can have a secretary or virtual assistant embedded as part of your life using Agentic AI. And there are lots of leaders working on such problems, but this would be a way to get there. And AGI, artificial general intelligence, is something, it's kind of, if you think of it as a destination, Agentic AI could be a conduit to get there for us. So there's so many opportunities. Any other questions? I've been told to say that there's a prize for the best question. Okay? Yeah, go ahead.
So robots are already there, which are part of RPA process and all.
Right.
And now these agents, these are AI based, and they are just robotic, which is mimicking the human work. So will they still be there, and this will be work along with them, or it will take over? Robots will be almost gone, and agents will be the new future.
Agents will not operate fully autonomously. You'll still have a human in the loop. In fact, for frameworks like Crew AI, there is actually an agent called a human in the loop agent, which actually pauses the execution and asks feedback from the user to see, should I refine this article? Should I rewrite it better? Should I run more test cases on the code that is generated? So it's able to have that, having a human in the loop is definitely encouraged, and it's a best practice. So I don't anticipate that these systems would run autonomously. We are running many experiments right now on migrating RPA systems towards Agentic AI. I don't anticipate RPA and Agentic coexisting. I think it will be a complete re-architecting, re-engineering using Agentic AI. Yeah. Completely moving away from the legacy and then adopting the new paradigm. Yeah. Does he get the price?
So, in case if I have RPA bot assets, developed in multiple, like for example, Automation Anywhere or Blue Prism.
UiPath.
So, agnostic of which platform and what kind of orchestration tool that I would have used, will an agentic AI tool will be sort of superseding, will be the manager that will manage all of these different systems?
Yes. So you have to, every system you have to study the architecture and see what is the complexity in migrating the legacy system to what you want it to be. So typically there are all these frameworks. These frameworks are there for a reason, because you don't have to rewrite all of the components. They actually provide you capabilities to have a hierarchy of agents, have a communication and coordination between agents. Sibling agents can talk with each other, worker agents, and you can have an agent executor. Some of the agents can work asynchronously. And for monitoring tasks where you don't know when an event is going to happen, it can be 1 in a million scenario, you can have an asynchronous process watching for it, like an event-driven architecture. So these are all design patterns, blueprints which are coming out. And on a case-by-case basis, we'll have to see which one is applicable for your scenario, what you're trying to migrate in terms of RPA. Right? One other area where I think Agentic AI is going to take over is something like Doc AI, Document AI. And we've done a lot of work in Document AI. We have Microsoft Cognitive Services. You have SageMaker APIs available for doing OCR and things like that. And even in the LLM world now, you have LLMs which are specialized to do OCR, specialized to actually understand what the image is about and extract text and things like that. You're going to see specialized agents which are able to do those kind of tasks also, right? To fill a form, to go online, collect more information. That is something agents are going to be able to do. And one more thing I forgot to mention is LLMs, when they are trained, they all have a cutoff date for the knowledge base. So I think GPT-4 O1 preview has a cutoff date of March 31st. So after that, if events happen in politics or sports or anything in our day-to-day life, after that date, they don't have that knowledge. Now you can think of augmenting any LLM using agents. So you get real-time quotes from stock market, you can get current affairs, and you can enrich your LLM's capabilities using Agentic AI. Right?
So there's a lot of hype on Agent Force by Salesforce that was recently announced. Is it very similar to what you just stated?
I don't know much about it. I'm guessing it's an Agentic AI because all the organizations are experimenting with this. So it might be an Agentic AI framework, I think, but I'd have to look into that.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
I don't want to hallucinate. Okay.
Hello. Yeah. So one of the things even you mentioned right now, LLMs and data. Yeah?
Right.
Now, if you really consider, there are a lot many talks happening about the LLMs, how to develop and whether it will be, but the heart of that is data. What kind of data you are getting?
Right.
And looking at the overall offering from all the partners or vendors, they are more focused on LLM and getting connected to data, but rather than looking at how to cleanse the data and make it sensible or get information out of that.
Right.
So in that, because you mentioned about MOA also, so is there any way we can leverage that to do gather and
Absolutely.
connect and get in such a way that rather than data, we talk about information? Yep. So
Absolutely.
That's,
You're talking about data quality.
data
and,
quality.
Data quality. Right?
Hallucination.
Yeah.
Reduction.
So in our accelerator, and we do have one accelerator called Agentic AI for data, we have an agent specialized on data quality.
Okay.
And that is actually a wrapper over Neo4j and knowledge graphs, enterprise ERKG, enterprise resolved knowledge graphs. And that forms a semantic layer. So to give you an example, a John Doe in a KYC table from Postgres and a John Doe in a loan defaulter list in MySQL in another table, if you don't reconcile it properly, you'll be giving out more loans to the same John Doe, which you don't want, right? So for that, we actually have a data virtualization layer using Starburst, and that is a separate specialized agent. And then we have another agent which is actually using Neo4j to reconcile if the two nodes, assuming you model the people as nodes, the two nodes are the same. If they share a lot of attributes, Neo4j has built-in APIs which can tell you the similarity between nodes. So we can resolve, the query into a cipher query to Neo4j, and that tells you you're dealing with the same John Doe, with a very high 95% similarity.
So let me tell you where I'm coming from. See, if it's a fraud detection or some kind of loan this is fine, even though I have two entries for John Doe. But example, it's a healthcare.
Right.
Now it becomes critical if I don't get the right information from my two different labs. Yeah. So then it's risky compared to, whether I give loan to XYZ or no, that's okay. But if the doctor has to take decision, and that time he is not getting right information, then it's a problem. And that's where all these LLMs which are publicly available has that limitation, and you can't rely on that. And that's now people are fearing of, that are we using the right LLM? Yeah, that's where I was coming from. Hope that makes sense.
So, so there are two problems here. One is if all your data is in pristine quality and just your prompt to SQL is failing because the LLM is not of high quality, that is a problem, and it's mostly solved. Some of the models are achieving very high benchmarks in terms of prompt text to SQL. The other problem is if your data itself is fragmented and is poor quality, has a lot of noise in it, right? And I explained a few techniques by which we can resolve the data quality issues. And knowledge graphs being one, and then there are a few other techniques, that we are looking at. Record linkage is an algorithm which can tell you if strings are very similar, but just off by a few characters, we can do that. So lots of techniques are available. If it's LLM related, I wouldn't bet my money on some of the 2 billion parameter models. The small SLMs won't really scale. You need to invest in something like Llama 3.1, 3.2 is now out. Those kind of models would really have a lot of, they're at the top of the leaderboard in terms of text to SQL, text to code. And those are the models I would definitely leverage.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations, sir. Great presentation, very insightful.
Thank you.
It was very exciting to see that the MOA paper that got published, where the models were sequenced to generate the higher precision. Intuitively speaking, ideally it should have ideally generated more hallucination because a lot of models are sequenced together. All the LLMs are sequenced together. Right. So there are two questions. How is it that it came to a mind that we sequence these models in a particular way, because there is just not way or one way of sequencing them together. Right. They may produce counterintuitive results. And secondly, since you very rightly mentioned that there's always a cutoff date for all models, right? They are trained up to a data up to a specific limit. This problem will also compound as you move forward, because now you're combining multiple models together. Right. So my question is, while it is giving higher precision today on a confusion metric, it may start giving lower results as you test them, 2 months down the line also.
Right. So LLMs, if you look at the traditional LLMs, they are good at predicting the next best token. and they don't have the ability, suppose I put my foot forward and I keep walking like an LLM giving output, I don't have the ability to backtrack and change my direction. Which is why when we write code, it has to say, I've done all this, these are the tokens, I need to create more tokens along the same way. And that will lead you down in a path where you cannot recover. And quality is compromised, quality of the output. But the ability to actually pause and use something like chain of thought reasoning and be able to have a few meta prompts which can refine it and introduce a reasoning layer on top of it actually vastly improves the output for any of the models. Even you take the small SLMs, the output we've seen in our experiments improves. If you just do a zero-shot prompting versus you use an agentic framework with maybe 2 or 3 iterations, the pause, review and revise iteration, the quality vastly improves. In that paper, what they did was they separated models based on what would be good in aggregating results from others and what would be proposer. So that was the novelty of that paper, which brought the paper to everybody's attention. That certain models like Llama were good at aggregating, certain models like DBRX were good at proposing, and when you chain them in a particular manner, instead of a random manner, you have to chain them in a particular manner that they prescribe in the paper, then you get really good results. Right? But even if you don't follow the paper and you take any output, even for Llama 3.1, 3.2, you were to do zero-shot prompting, and then you got some results, and then you applied an agentic AI result on top of it, and you wrote like an essay on sustainability or something, and you do an A/B test. We usually measure it by ELO rating. Left and right, you show it to crowdsource it, and then a lot of people vote on it, kind of how you measure the chess players, strategy, how they play. You see that the ELO ratings would prove that agentic AI wins, the quality improves, right? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
If there is a lot of sensitive data that I have, maybe health-related data, which I don't want to send it to maybe ChatGPT or Gemini, I want to do that locally. I want to maybe process and generate the insights locally.
Right.
But I don't have that kind of processing power or the GPUs. And even if I have the processing power, I might not have the expertise in maybe installing or implementing those models locally. So is there a way around where there is an offering where we can do this locally and not have, implement it even without the expertise that is needed?
You could use Azure OpenAI. It's secure, and if you disable the flag to do, audit log monitoring or something, they don't archive any of your messages. They definitely explicitly say Microsoft would not use your data, customer data, to train their models. So all of that, all the guarantees are baked into, the terms and conditions. That is one thing. So you won't incur any capital expense, or you can invest in something like what we did in our lab, where we bought HP, Hewlett-Packard, Fury machines, and we set up a small cluster of GPU machines with A6000 GPU cards, the ADA configuration. You get 48 GB of RAM, and that's good enough to fine-tune all these models. So that should be good enough. It does cost a little bit, but it's not prohibitively costly for doing your experiments for an organization. Right? In fact, it's affordable that even gamers are able to buy such high-end GPU cards and set up the systems at home. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Should we wrap up? Okay, all right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so very much.